I would love to chat about some of the common legal roadblocks and unknown things that you guys maybe encountered that you're now sharing with other queer parents that they might encounter on their family building journey, things that they maybe haven't thought about. Because naively, this was definitely something that I was like, oh, wait a second, there's a whole other realm of the fertility care sphere when we're speaking to a queer couple.
Yeah, well, legal stuff. Well, so legal is like a huge part of our journeys because, if you go the anonymous route, the legal, at least with the donor, is taken care of by the banks, and so that was like the appealing thing for us going the anonymous route. But if you're going a known donor route, you're like, you have to have a contract made. You should go to therapy together. There's a lot to figure out. And then there's paperwork that needs to be signed and filled out. And depending on your state, it's different how you have to go about it. And you need to make sure that the known donor signs over his parental rights and it's documented legally. And then after all of that with known donor situations, then once we have the children, all of us, regardless of how our children came to us, need to get second parent adoption. And there's a lot of confusion around this because when we got the right to get married, folks thought that since we were married, that we would just legally be recognized as parents. And then when we were allowed to put both names on birth certificates, people thought that would count. And I've spoken with countless lawyers who say, no, birth certificate does not signify legal parentage. It only signifies identity, which is interesting. Would a heterosexual couple be challenged if something were to happen about the birth certificate? No. But could a possible homosexual couple be challenged? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there is no genetic tie to one of these people.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. All lawyers I've spoken to just highly recommend getting that second parent adoption, which means we have to pay lawyer fees. We need to have a home study done. Like it's invasive and it's a pain in the butt and it costs money.
Expensive. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel good when you created this baby together and you have to adopt your own child. And sometimes when like couples use because there's reciprocal IVF, which I'm sure you know, where, the egg from one person can be put into the other person. And so the biological parent is actually the one who didn't give birth. However, in some states, the biological parent has to be the one to adopt. And in some states, the one who gave birth has to be the one to adopt. And it depends state by state, which is very interesting. So there's so much research that needs to be done. You have to figure out what the laws are in your state. And then there are certain judges who will actually say, no, I'm not going to give you a second parent adoption because you don't need one because you are legal parents on the birth certificate. And so there's a lot of discrepancy with that. Right. And so then I've spoken to folks who fight judges to still get the second parent adoption. And that's a whole headache too. So there's a lot of legal crap that we deal with to make sure our families are safe. And I know families who travel with their documents if they're going abroad. And now with the state of the country as it is, you never know state by state what you're going to encounter. So I know families who are traveling just in our nation with their documentation to make sure that, because God forbid anything happens to one of the parents, and you never know how your own families will react if one of you passes. So get the paperwork, get the will done, right? And this is what I advise everyone. We have to make sure we are so buttoned up because we just never know who might push back.
Right. Yeah. The second parent adoption was something I was like, when I was doing some research, I was like, I never even considered that. Now we have, your home, you have your baby, you've grown your family, life's so good, but you still have all of these hurdles now to jump over. And like you've been saying, every journey is different and it's not always simple. Even in a heterosexual relationship, it's not always simple when you come home, but to have these extra, very legal seemingly unnecessary steps that you now have to think about and consider is just, it's mind boggling.